All right, Vic. This
Yes.
is a tough one to discuss.
Super fits.
Tough one. Mariano Rivera, best closer of all time, is having a little bit of a rough season.
And Vig's favorite player.
Vig's all-time favorite player is having some trouble this year, especially against the good teams.
Right.
Basically, I'm going to assume we're going to make it to October. We're going to play the Verlanders in the first round. Do we have anything to worry about with Mariano? Should we expect him to be the lights out guy in October that we're used to seeing? Where do we stand with Mariano?
Right, so Mo's got an ERA under 2 this year, but he's got an ERA versus league leaders above 3. So your Bostons, your Detroits of the world, he is struggling. An ERA over 3 for a closer is bad. It means you're giving up a run every time you come in.
Yeah.
So Mariano, I think is always obviously dependent on that cutter. He's got a lot of late break. I think you and I have seen. I think I forwarded to you like a year ago, an actual a visual of that late break.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happens versus good teams is they can take a scouting report and they can actually put it into play. Versus you brought up an example in a post that we talked about the Royals and the Red Sox a few days ago. And you talked about how the Royals come up, young kids, first pitch fastball hunting, and they just swing away. They're not really implementing a scouting report, right? Whereas Detroit, professional hitters can take a half a step off the plate because they know that Mariano cutter's breaking in on them, and they just go out and swing. It reminds me a lot of when, do you remember a few years ago, the Yankees had a reliever named Eduardo Ramirez,
Sure.
and he threw a lot of changeups. And you always hear Major League Baseball players can never look changeup because they don't want to get embarrassed on the fastball, right? God forbid. But what did Garrett Anderson do? Professional hitter, right? Guy hit 700 off of Ramirez because he would look changeup. He wasn't afraid of looking embarrassed.
Right.
So the Red Sox, right? Even a guy like Veritek who owns Mariano, who's a 220 hitter, but he owns Mariano.
That one hurts to hear too.
Gets up to the plate, they're not worried about looking embarrassed, and they put a scouting report into play. They go ahead and take a half a step back, and they go ahead and smoke the ball. 90-mile-an-hour fastball, even with a little bit of break, as long as you're giving that extra couple of inches, I think that's why he's struggling.
And I think you're dead on with that. His pitch is the same. He's throwing that cutter 90% of the time, so it's going the same path every time. If the pitchers are looking for it, if they wait for it, if they move off the plate, like you said, adjust your 2 to 3 inches, you're going to be able to hit it. The other thing I say, and I'm going to take it a step further, I'm going to add that third variable in there. When you're playing the Royals, you bring Mariano in, it's 9-1. I guess Mariano wouldn't be there. It's 6-4. Okay, you bring Mariano in, it's against the Royals. The ump back there knows it's Mariano. They know, Joe Butthole, who's at bat right now, is not going to see any more seasons in the big leagues.
Does he play for the Liverpool Muchmucks?
Next season. He signed on after the Royals cut him after this year.
Okay.
They're more likely to give Mariano those close calls. That's what I've also noticed. The cutter coming in, they'll give him that. When he throws him sometimes, paints the outside corner, he'll sometimes get a couple inches there. We all know about the umps helping out some of the star players, especially the pitchers. I think Mariano gets it a little bit, and I'm trying not to take anything away from him, but I think he gets a little of that versus some of the lesser teams that he doesn't get against the Bostons and the Angels of the world.
So there's not only the tangibles as far as scouting report, professional hitters going and putting those scouting reports into play, but then there's also some of those kind of tough to measures as well.
I think there is, and you're going to get those nods versus the lower teams, but when it comes down to where you have your best of the best in the playoffs, they have all those rating systems now for umpires, and that's how they get chosen for the playoffs. I think those guys are going to look a little bit more carefully at Mariano. They know he's getting older. They also know the history. They know Boston hitters have routinely hit well off of him. They could get some breaks there too.
Yeah, I remember 7, 8, 9 years ago when the only way you beat Mo was off of a broken bat single.
Right.
Even the hit by Gonzalez in the 0-1 World Series where they came back against Mariano, which still pains me to think about. That ball was a flare up the middle. It was a broken back flare. Whereas it seems like now, when you have success against Mo, it's because you're squaring up that cutter and you're putting that scouting report into play. Certainly, I wouldn't take anything away from the tough to measures that you're talking about. So you hear it here on Fitz and Big first. You get not only sabermetrics, intangibles, but also a little bit of gut feel as well.
Right.